I really want to talk about this doing it for the plot phrase because I just think it's fucking hilarious. If you don't know, doing it for the plot is a saying that essentially supports the idea of being impulsive because no matter what, you can tell yourself, well, at least I got a good story to tell at the end of this. And I think that's really funny because when we want to make really bad decisions, we tell ourselves that we are doing it for the plot, or we tell ourselves we're doing it so we can at least have a great story to tell. And unfortunately, I'm going to be the resident party pooper when I say that I don't know about this whole doing it for the plot thing, because this doing it for the plot phrase reminds me of when musicians talk about being in bad relationships on purpose so they can write music. And I'm like, are you in bad relationships repeatedly because you need something to write about? Or are you in bad relationships repeatedly because you lack discernment? Because I'm not buying it. I'm not sure about that. That whole thing of like, I write the best art when I'm sad and depressed and heartbroken, which I don't disagree with that, Like, people have different ways of reaching their own emotional depths, and certain situations do inspire us to view ourselves in a particular way. And that can birth really deeply layered art that connects with people. I'm not disputing that. What I think is quite interesting is the ways that we justify tormenting ourselves for the sake of having good art. Because, like, why can't your art be good if you're not tormenting yourself? Especially as a musician. But, it could be argued that I'm speaking out of place here because I'm not a musician myself. You're right. I'm not a musician. I'm not. However, I am a creative person, and as a writer of books, as a podcast host, it could also be argued that I need to expose myself to the worst of the worst so that I can have something to talk about. What will I write about if it isn't the woes of my love life? Like, that's not really me, because I do ponder about that. As somebody who sees myself becoming a musician at some point in the future, I'm in no hurry, by the way, but I see myself becoming a musician. I'm already a performer right now. I perform burlesque, and I'm really good at it. But when it comes to music, when I think about what kind of musician I'm going to be, I'm like, am I the kind of person that's going to be writing woefully about what some man did to me? Girl, I don't know, because, like, when I tell you I'm way too self-absorbed for that, I'm not being sarcastic. Like, I have high levels of self-absorption because I've given so much time to being single and living for myself that I don't feel this sense of missing out on something, or this whole feeling of like, oh, I'm going to have to make a really impulsive decision so that I have some excitement in my life. No. Because the last time I did that, I'm telling you, it was not funny. I mean, it was fun, But now in hindsight, it's not funny. The last time I did it for the... You know what's interesting? I was going to say the last time I did it for the plot. But it's about what plot are we writing here? Because as somebody who is on the borderline outskirts of being a comedian, and as someone who is already a performer, improv is integral to my practice. Even when I record this podcast, I'm saying things as they come to me. I'm improvising. Of course, I'm not making things up in thin air. I'm either referencing past experience or discussing ideologies that resonate with me, or touching on current ongoings of the world and how that affects the ways that women and men interact, right? But there's a certain level of improv that is required for me to do this in the way that I do. Similarly, improv is the case for me with burlesque, where through freestyling, you learn your own dance style. You start to identify the moves, the shapes, the expressions that come more frequently to you. And that's how your own handwriting is created as a performer. So in the conversation of improv and doing it for the plot, if we're applying this to dating men and using doing it for the plot as a way to justify our decisions, your improv, your improvisation, your off-cuff story writing needs to have some sort of goal, though. There needs to be a reason this story exists. If we're doing it for the plot, then baby, let's... Who's the character? What is the plot? What's the hook? Because the plot can't write itself. Because when we're talking about improv, right? Within improv, we have to look at impulsivity versus intention. So when people are using do it for the plot, oftentimes what they're saying is just be impulsive. Just be impulsive so you can have a story to tell. Just be impulsive, it's fun. But what's your intention behind this impulsivity? Because this impulsivity is your plot building exercise. But what's the intention behind it? Because if you're telling me that you're going to just go and tell that guy you like him because you're doing it for the plot, what is your plot? Is your desired outcome, is your desired happy ending for this plot that if you tell him you like him, he's going to tell you that he likes you too? Is your desired outcome for this plot that if you impulsively bareback him, that you're going to have a stronger bond, and one day you'll look back on this decision and you'll be like, oh, I'm so glad I did it for the plot? Is your version of doing it for the plot you accepting a proposal from a man who has offered you a ring that has a tooth gem on it? What is the plot? What's the plot? Because I think doing it for the plot, as they say, can actually carry an empowering undertone. Because when you're doing it for the plot, you're embracing impulsivity, right? So spontaneity will be the centerpiece in all of this. And when we find ourselves being spontaneous, it's easy for us to talk ourselves out of the decision. We might almost get there and we're like, oh, am I good enough? Am I smart enough? Like when you're doing it for the plot and you're going on a date with this guy and you're like, what am I doing? Does this guy like me? Is this going to work out? Am I crazy? And on the topic of, doing it for the plot and finding ways to keep yourself mentally strong in this impulsive process. Might I entice you with my latest book, Pocket Power from the Slumflower? Pocket Power from the Slumflower was released in November of 2023, and it is actually a quote book that I designed full of punchy lines that will get you through your moments of doing it for the plot. Because when you are doing it for the plot, you're operating from an impulsive place, and so doubt can easily creep up and distract you. Doubt is what might talk you out of it. So, in this quote book, it's very visually exciting, mind you. Some of the quotes I have in there, I'll read a couple for you. Here's one. He must play by your rules if he wants to play with your pussy. And that quote is in there because, period, like if you're feeling impulsive and you want to go and have a brief rendezvous with a guy, just make sure that he's doing it your way. That's the least you can do for yourself. Because I promise you, if you have a brief rendezvous with a guy and you can't even say you enjoyed that shit, did you do it for the plot or did you do it for him? Answer me. Another quote I have in Pocket Power from the Slumflower is, just because you like him doesn't mean you need to make him the exception. He needs to make himself exceptional. And when you're in an impulsive place, you tend to make more exceptions. You tend to allow more excuses to fly. You tend to read more into this guy and you tell yourself, well, I'm doing it for the plot. I'm doing it for the excitement. YOLO, you only live once. No, we got to stop this YOLO thing. You only live once is the more reason why you need to handle your life with more care. I promise you, you can still have fun and have discernment. So if you are looking for fun, easy, quick way to find some discernment and generate a stronger sense of self-esteem in the realm of dating men impulsively, I would invite you to get yourself a copy of Pocket's Power from the Slumflower, which is available at all good bookstores, including Amazon, Waterstones, Barnes & Noble, Foyle, and everywhere else that you may get your books. And another thing as well is, remember with doing it for the plot, right? If you take your power into your own hands, you realize you're the writer of this plot. So you can actually reverse engineer the outcome through curation of the plot. So let's say you're doing it for the plot with this guy and your intention is you want him to be a person that you start sleeping with. That's the end goal of the plot. That's sort of like the final outcome, the end of the story. You guys are fucking. Okay, so how will you write your character into this scenario? What is she going to do that's going to make her stand out in this guy's life? Because no, it's not about washing plates for him and cooking him food. We know that's not going to make you stand out. But what can you do to make your character exciting? Like if you was reading this plot of yours that you're doing everything for, if you was reading this plot in a book, what would make this plot compelling? Because let me tell you about one time when I did it for the plot. Oh, ciao. This happened in Nigeria in 2022, I believe. No, 2021, because it was like a week before New Year's. My friend was dating, she was very briefly dating a guy out in Nigeria. And me and my friend, we were going everywhere together, okay? We might as well have been fucking Siamese twins at this point. We were just always with each other because we were living together in Nigeria as well. If you're listening, love you, babe. And yeah, she was briefly dating this guy. And, it's like that scenario where your friend is dating a guy. The guy has a friend, but his friend ain't even that cute. This was that. So my friend was dating a guy. He was definitely the cuter friend. Neither were objectively that cute, but my friend's guy was the cuter friend. This brief guy she was briefly dating. So, sometimes when he would take her out, I'd be hanging out with her already. So he would invite his friend to come along. And so it was almost like we were double dating, but I wasn't dating his friend. I was just like, oh. So when my friend was, sitting with her guy and they're having their conversation, I'm sat there just like staring into my drink, trying not to make eye contact with this guy who I don't fancy. Because this guy who I don't fancy, I'm gonna give him a name. I'm gonna call him Chris. Okay. I don't fancy Chris. Chris is very short, very, very short. But he was an architect. So I was like, you're short, but I'm gonna give you a teeny weeny bit of attention because I know you got money, but you're still short and I'm not interested in you. So anytime he would be hanging out with me and my friend and her guy, it was so awkward because she would be enjoying her time with her guy and I'm sat there, and each time Chris would try to get my attention to talk to me, I kid you not, because guys, like, when I tell you I'm a menace, if you think you've seen bad, wait till you see me because I'm worse. Anytime Chris would try to get my attention to talk to me, I would slowly turn around and I'd be like, what did you say? Like, I was given the most unapproachable bitch energy. So bitchy, so mean, so dismissive. So I couldn't have made it more obvious that I was uninterested in Chris. But because I knew that he found me attractive and he wanted me to like him, anytime he would buy me a drink, I would be a little bit more responsive to him. And anytime he would show me, so he started showing me some of the properties that he's built, or designed, I should say, because he's an architect. And when he started showing me some of the buildings, I was acting more interested in him. So he started to learn that, okay, for me to impress this woman, I just need to be useful to her. Good. So I didn't really like him, but because he was my friend's guy's friend, I don't even want to say boyfriend because it was so brief that she dated him, but because I knew I was going to be seeing a lot more of him, I was like, oh, whatever, I'll just entertain him here and there. But I didn't fancy him at all. Fast forward now, it's the night of my birthday, and because we're in Nigeria, I'm more open to spontaneity and letting men spoil me. So Chris bought me and my friend a bunch of shots. It was nice. I enjoyed that. I was a lot more open to him because, again, he was spending cash. Anyone listening to this who is uncomfortable about receiving money from men might be listening to this thinking, oh my God, this sounds so cold and robotic. This is a Nigerian man in Nigeria, okay? Nigerian men, they're built different. They like feeling useful. They like knowing that they're wanted for their cash. Just how it is. Don't worry about them. They'll be fine. Don't feel sorry for them. Trust me. They do it to themselves. So we've had shots, we've had drinks, we're enjoying small. Then my friend's guy decides, why don't we all go back to his house and just like have a chilled one and like just put some music on and like small mini party vibes. Just the four of us. So we go to his house. He's got a nice house. He's got a nice studio in his house. So we're like in the studio area. Four of us in this one room. Nice big comfy sofa. So then my friend, she needs to use the toilet, and because his house is massive, her guy had to literally like just take her and show her where the toilet is. So now it's just me and Chris left in the room. And I'm sat on the sofa next to him, and he starts making comments about my feet, saying I've got really beautiful feet. And when he said I got beautiful feet, I was like, oh, not the dog whistle going off in my head. Ding, ding, ding. Ooh, where have I heard that before? Because at this point, Chris doesn't know that I'm a whole dominatrix. When he said he liked my feet, I was like, oh, you're done, mate. You're fucking done. You like my feet? He said, oh, say less. So then once he told me he liked my feet, I was like, you like my tattoo? It's so beautiful, isn't it? Yeah. And then he was like, I really want to kiss your feet. And I was like, oh, really? Well, okay. My challenge for you is if you can find oil in this house, I will let you rub my feet. Because basically, we're in his friend's house. So it's low-key a challenge for him to go find some oil, because men don't just be having skincare products lying around. So he actually went to go and look for oil. When he left to go and look for the oil, I was thinking he's not going to find any oil. It's fine. Like, that's going to talk him out of focusing on my feet, because I've sent him to go and find oil. He's not going to find oil. Lo and behold, he found oil. I said, Jesus. But the oil he found, it's a grey line. Technically, it wasn't oil, because what he found was essential oil, lemon essential oil. And essential oil is not meant to be directly put on the skin. I mean, you can, but it's meant to be added to like an almond oil or an argan oil or any kind of like mixer oil, just to like carry the scent. But because it's technically an oil, I was like, you know what, I'll let you have that. So I instructed him to place a pillow under my feet, and he needed to get on his knees and puts the oil on my feet. Mind you, my friend and her guy, remember, they're not here anymore because they went to go and look for the toilet. So Chris is now on his knees, and he starts to drop essential oil on my feet. So I'm sat on the sofa. I'm wearing my full, the Skims dress, the bodycon long sleeve Skims dress. I'm wearing that, yeah. And I'm looking down on him because he's literally on his knees. Remember, he's tiny as well. He's on his knees. He's holding my feet. He genuinely starts to like rub the oil on my feet. And I'm like, there's no way this is happening. Not me having a fucking scene in Nigeria, of all places. But we're doing it for the plot, aren't we? So he starts rubbing my feet, and I can see he's getting excited by it. And so I'm really playing into it. I'm like, you're really enjoying rubbing my feet, aren't you? My feet are so beautiful, isn't it? I can tell you're very excited. And then his hands now go above my ankle and onto the lower part of my calf. And I'm like, did you ask my permission to touch my leg? He says no. Then he says he's sorry. I'm like, sorry what? He's like, sorry, goddess. I said, good. Then he's like, goddess, please can I rub your leg? I'm like, yes, you can. Stop at the knee though. Then he starts rubbing my legs, and he gets excited and he asks me if he can take off his shirt. So now he takes off his shirt. There's no singlet in sight. He's fully topless. He's still wearing his jeans on. Takes off his shirt and he's rubbing my legs, and he's like holding my leg in the air and just being like, wow, it's so beautiful. And then he asks if he can go a bit higher and rub my thighs. So I say, yes, you can. Because remember, we're doing it for the plot, right? And this is the point where he's got a whole leg of mine in his hands. He's on his knees. There's a pillow under my other foot. I'm sat on the sofa, fully clothed. He's topless with his trousers still on, but there's a visible hard on in his trousers. And then my friend and her guy walk back into the room. And I kid you not, we just kind of had this awkward moment of like, he's on the floor on his knees holding my leg and he's smiling looking at his friend. I'm looking at my friend like, girl, I can't explain. I didn't. And then the two of them just like slowly walk backwards and just leave us to it. And then this guy just continues with just like kissing my feet. I let him suck my toes. He's like proper fully excited from it. And I just keep on sort of rubbing it in, just being like, yeah, my feet are so beautiful. And I was wearing an anklet at the time, and he really liked my anklets. And I was like, are you gonna buy me another anklet? Because, you know, since you love my ankles so much. He was like, yes, I will. Yes, I will. He would have said yes to anything at that point, because he was in a trance. So what's interesting is that after my friend disappeared with her guy, I want to say it was maybe like 15 minutes later, she came back with him. And at this point, it's time for us to go home. So my friend's guy drops us home, because me and my friend were staying in the same place. My friend's guy drops us home. And me and my friend now debrief. Because my friend wasn't like, oh my God, what's going on here? She was just like, oh, classic Chidi. Of course this guy is kissing her toes. Duh. But when me and her debriefed, I was like to her, so what happened when you and your guy left after you saw me and Chris in a foot worship session? She was like, her guy asked her if he could do the same. So while I was getting my feet licked by this guy, she was getting her feet licked too. So I don't know what the moral of that story is, other than doing it for the plot. But where I want to go with this is that if you're going to do it for the plot, you need to decide, like, how compelling do you want this plot to be, and how is it going to benefit you? Because I just think it's an amusing story to tell. And I'm not going to lie, I did not see myself having that kind of interaction with a man in Nigeria, because Nigerian men are a lot more resistant to dominant women. They enjoy it, but only because they like overpowering women who are strong. They don't enjoy dominant women from a place of, oh, I'm just a meek, insufferable man and I just need a woman who's going to yell at me and remind me that I'm a piece of shit. That's not how Nigerian men are. Nigerian men, they see dominant women as like, oh, she's so cute and dominant. I'm turned on by how mean she is, but I'm still going to overpower her. That's what Nigerian men tend to be like. So I wasn't expecting to meet a sub in Nigeria. And I'm pretty confident that that particular guy who we've named Chris, who was sucking my toes, I don't think he's out here just doing that, you know. I think that he probably has always had some sort of foot fetish, and through the way that me and him interacted, he was able to just live out that fantasy small. I'm pretty sure when he went home, he bashed his life off over that. 100% convinced that, like, that moment of him being able to worship my feet, the moment of his friend walking in, I'm sure all of that was a huge turn on for him in his own plot. But with this whole doing it for the plot thing, people be taking doing it for the plot and then applying that to sleeping with men who are doing nothing for them. Girl, that's a tired ass plot. That plot sounds whack. Boo. Boo. I'm giving it a 1 star on Rotten Tomatoes. Boo. Why are you not the star of your own plot? You're doing it for the plot. This is the one time where you get to do it for yourself. Why are you not the star of your own story? How are you doing it for the plot and you still end up being a sidekick in your own story? How does that work? Because one thing I love about doing it for the plot is that you get to create a plot twist. So what's it going to be? How will you be curating this plot for the sake of generating a manuscript that you can refer to and use as your foundation for future plots to come? Because that's really how I be feeling when I be generating these plots. I'm like, there's certain things that I might say to this guy that I want to try it out and see how he'll be responsive to it, so that if he responds in the way that I like, I'll keep using this phrase. I'll keep saying this thing to men. This is how I develop my own confidence of just saying shit because I feel like it to men. Because what are you going to do? Are you going to beat me? Because I'd be saying some out of pocket shit to men, and it's not like I'm insulting them or being horrible. It's more just I'm brave enough to just say things that sound a bit brazen. Because yeah, do it for the plot, but more importantly, do it because I know that I've done it before and I know it's gonna work. It's gonna invoke the reaction I want. But yeah, what I don't see as doing it for the plot is barebacking broke men. Stop that, please. Because you can get pregnant. You're gonna risk losing your teeth, risk developing preeclampsia, risk high mortality rate as a black woman, risk losing your eyesight. I've heard people go blind when they're pregnant, some of them. You're gonna risk breaking a rib because you're doing it for the plot. Now, that's a raggedy plot that I don't want any parts of. Okay? Because my thing with doing it for the plot is, like I said, I'm writing myself to be the star of my own story. So if I'm doing it for the plot, I'm doing it for the narrative of I'm a star, and this particular plot is going to show me exactly why I'm a star. Yeah. Because I just worry about how boredom puts women in a position where they're doing it for the plot, but they have no control over the plot. So what was once meant to be I'm just doing it for the plot, YOLO, now becomes a situation where they don't really know how to come out of it. Or the plot is lasting a little longer and the plot is a little thicker than they were anticipating. Now what do you do? That's why when you're doing it for the plot, you need to curate this plot in a way where you have a smooth exit strategy. Rather than just being impulsive and not knowing where the fire exits are. Being impulsive and not knowing what you're actually dealing with here in this person. Because when I say being impulsive and not knowing where the fire exits are metaphorically referring to knowing a quick way out of a situation that you found yourself in. You need to pay attention. Because I've been there with this whole do it for the sake of a story, be impulsive, life is short. Yeah, I might do that a couple times if I come across come across a guy who tickles my interest. I'll tell you another scenario. This is a literal other situation where I quite literally did it for the plot and for the cash. And it was some good cash that day, you know. So this was so spontaneous and unexpected. I went to a dominatrix event with my two friends, and these were two friends who I was like, babes, let's go be mean to some men real quick because it's a Wednesday night and we're bored. So we put on our cutest fishnets and leather. We made our way to East London. And we went to a dungeon because there was like a goddess night happening. A goddess night is a type of event where the women are the goddesses, the men are the subs. We get there. At the time, there was a white guy that used to be... He wasn't my sub per se, but he was just one of the guys who was subbing for me. Loosely. And he happened to be at that event. And when I clocked him, I was like, come here, open your wallet, give me cash now. And then he gave me £30. I was like, what's this? I can see more cash in your wallet, give it to me. And then he ended up being £50. Gave me £50. I snatched it out of it. I even scratched him as I was snatching the £50 off him. And then I just told him to get out of my sight. Because they love that shit. They love being bullied. Anyway, took his money. And then me and my friends sat there talking to each other. Occasionally, the odd guy will come out of nowhere and ask one of my friends if he could lick their shoes. You know the drill. But because I'm quite used to this, I wasn't really that interested in interacting with guys. I was more just interested in my friends experiencing it because I was trying to put them on. Because they were quite curious about this whole dominating thing that I do. So I was like, come with me. I'll put you on. I'll show you what these guys are about. And so it got to a point in the night where three of us are just sat at a table together. And this white guy came up to us. And he was like, hi, can I please book a session with you guys? And I remember sending him away and saying, we'll call you when we're ready for you. And then three of us are like, what's a session? What does he want to do? What does he mean he wants to book a session? Like, what the fuck? And then I was like, okay, so I'm guessing he wants us to bully him because obviously he knows what dominatrix is. He was not trying to get us to sleep with him. Hell no. He wanted us to basically gang up on him and bully him. And he was willing to pay us each. So I was like, okay, here's what we're going to do. When we invite him back to the table, we'll tell him that, yeah, this is it. We're gonna have this session with him. We're going to charge him £200 each of us for 1 hour of him being bullied by us at the same time. So called him back, said to him, yeah, we'll have a session with you, £200 each, and we'll bully you for 1 hour. He said yes. So he got us an Uber with him. We went to his hotel. It wasn't too far from where we were. And at no point did I feel unsafe during any of this because it's 3 against 1, number one. 2, these guys, they tend to, like, when they approach women for something like this, it's not their first time. They're known in the community. So it's not in their interest to do something mad. So 3 of us are in the car with him and we're trying to like curate the session while we're in the car, but through notes app, like passing one person's phone to the other. So they were all looking to me to be like, what are we gonna do? So I was like, okay, let's give him a little lineup. Yeah, let's curate this thing. So obviously when we get into his hotel room, we're gonna make him get on his knees. We're gonna make him repeat, black women are superior, because this is a white guy. We're gonna make it, and he wanted us to bully him. Gonna make him get on his knees and repeat, black women are superior 3 times. And each time he says it, he has to say it louder. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna stand around him while he's kneeling, stand over him and be like, you little pathetic piece of shit. And one of us will like poke his head and just make him feel outnumbered and insecure. And one of us will need to blow smoke in his face for dramatic effect. And then another part of the session, the core part, the main chunk will be, I had my whip on me, so I'll be like, so I was like, I'll be whipping him, you know. The other one you can make him sniff your pants or something. Just make sure that he's feeling like a little newt. And maybe if he deserves it, we might kick him in the balls. So this is all what we planned via Notes app, right? So we get there and one of us puts on some music on our phone, and it's a very black Afrobeats heavy playlist because we were all black. Three of us, the three girlies were all black. I think he was like Polish or something, just very opposite of us, putting on Wizkid and Davido and Rema. And then one of my friends goes out to just like have a quick smoke on the balcony of the hotel, and then comes back in, and then I guess we just kind of start. And it's like, this is the first time where I took doing it for the plot into this like simulated experience of two other people, where like I'm with two other goddesses and we're literally just like in real time spontaneously co-curating this plot to like bully this white guy who's paid us £200 for an hour to just bully him, right? So it was actually minimal effort. Like, if anything, my friends are doing a bit more of the like activity. I was on the bed just lying on my side being like, wow, he's insufferable. Look at how tiny his dick is. Oh my God, it's so small. Ew, is that a tampon in his pocket or is that his actual wait, is it hard? Ew. And he was loving that humiliation. Like, I'm never gonna understand how men's minds work, and I'm not interested to. All I know is I'm gonna use what I know about how they behave, and I'll use that to my advantage. Because tell me why this guy was hard from us calling his dick small. Anyway, we're like circling around him, bullying him, being like, you fucking piece of shit. And then I'm whipping him on the ass. He's like on his hands and knees. I'm whipping him on his ass, and he's sniffing my friend's panani. But she was wearing her underwear on, but he was this is what he wanted. And then it got to a point where I was like, oh, would you look at that? Time flies when you're having fun, doesn't it? An hour has gone now. So we're ready to go. We're ready for our cash now. And actually, no, he gave us the cash when we all walked in. What am I saying, ready for our cash? He'd already given us the cash when we walked into the hotel with him. I remember saying, yeah, time flies when you're having fun. Looks like an hour's gone now. We're ready to go. And he was like, please, can I have another hour with you? We were like, that would be another extra £100 for each of us. And he said yes. I said, say less. So we get back to, cracks knuckles, gets back to bullying him. For me, it was light work. It was light work. I mean, what? You got a white man paying me to bully him? I mean, I'll be doing that in my spare time anyway. Let's fucking go. So, again, continued with the verbal humiliation. Pulled down his boxers a bit and was laughing at his bum crack. And his little dick was flopping over his boxers. We were like, this is so tiny. And you know what? Like, it could be argued that, oh, you shouldn't body shame men. They love that shit. The ones who are into the humiliation, they love being called little tiny pathetic dick. So that's what we did. And it was hilarious. Till this day. Me and my two other friends were like, I can't believe we really did that on a random Wednesday for fun. And that was their first time. That was their first time engaging with submissive men because they were always curious about my lifestyle. They were like, "Oh my god, I want to come to these events with you." So I was like, "Okay, fine. You might not like it, but let's go anyway. You know, at least we just see what it's like." Come to find out, we're all gonna leave that night with 300 each. What the hell? Because we decided to do it for the plot, and we felt safe to do it for the plot because we were with each other. We outnumbered him. I mean, if I was on my own, and that same guy said to me he wants to book a session of humiliation with me, I should come to his hotel. He'll pay me X amount. I would have said no because I'm on my own. It's not wise to do that. But if I was with one other person, I'd have been like, yeah, because I got a comrade with me. So when you're doing things for the plot, you need to still assess your surroundings and make sure that this plot is a sustainable plot. You don't want to enter a plot that you don't have any control over. Because are you doing it for the plot or is the plot doing you? So that was a hilarious night with that guy who he humiliated. Didn't even take his details. He gave us all cash. Where did he get his money from? He was a plumber. So a lot of his jobs are cash in hand, which is why he had so much cash to give us. Imagine spending £900 to have 3 black femmes intimidate and humiliate you and kick you in the dick and call you small dick. Like, imagine you paid £900 for that. That to me is crazy, but I'm not a man. So I don't have any issue with reasoning with men's mentality. I don't care about why you enjoy being humiliated. If you want to be humiliated by me, I take cash. I also take contactless card payment. If you want to be humiliated, come find me. I'll give you the read of your life. If you want to be ignored, I'm really good at ignoring. Come find me. I'll give you the ignoring of your life. But what you're not going to get from me is a fucking emotional, mental unraveling where I'm boohoo crying to you about, oh, you make me feel so sad. Oh, you're not as romantic as you used to be. I'm so sad. Why can't you go back to how you once were when we fell in love and we first met? You're not getting that from me. You're not getting that from me. I would rather lick the butt crack of a monkey than to beg a man for intimacy that he doesn't want to get. I'm not doing that. I'm just not doing that, guys. I'm not doing it. The more you listen to this podcast and the more you get to know me and how I operate and the situations I find myself in, you can build a character profile of me that I'm just not with the shits, babe. If I can dominate men and get them to give me money to yell at them, why would I be dealing with a broke man who's got nothing but excuses for me? What's there? What's in it for me? Because that's why I refuse to believe that people are just vibes. What vibe is everybody vibing? What's this vibe everybody's vibing that is keeping everybody so stuck with these men who are doing nothing for them? Because my thing is, if you're talking about doing it for the plot, yeah, like I keep on asking, what is your desired outcome of this plot? Because when men are doing it for the plot, their desired outcome is they want an orgasm. They just want to be able to bust a nut. Something as temporary as that, they be making life-altering decisions for. I've seen men gamble away like half their savings just for a smidgen of pussy. So if pussy is that powerful, you ought to use yours to more of your advantage, babe. So the next time you're considering doing it for the plot, I would implore you to get some creative writing skills. Design your character right now so that any improvised plot she finds herself in, you've already got fundamental traits and characteristics about your character that you've created, who is you, you've already got fundamental characteristics about her that are unwavering and that are going to benefit her in these random plots that she spontaneously finds herself in thanks to you and your imagination. So what do I mean by that? Well, if we think about Goddess Gina, who I don't really want to use alter ego per se, because this is actually how I am. Like, it's not, Goddess Gina is not really an alter ego. Goddess Gina is just what I call myself as a dominatrix, because Georgina's a middle name. But I don't know, like, it's not really an alter ego. It's more just, this is how I am when I'm not masking in society. I get off on being mean to men. They get off on me being mean to them. I love wearing corsets. I love being sexy. I do believe that I'm superior to men, especially white men. They believe that shit too. So the character that is Goddess Gina, well, when she's interacting with men in spontaneous plots that she has found herself in, she's always interacting to benefit herself, gaining from these men. Whether that's gaining insight, gaining cash, gaining convenience. My character has always got a goal. My character has always got something that she seeks beyond all of this stuff. I'm not just plonking myself into a plot and telling myself the plot will write itself and hee hee ha ha. Because you're not going to hee hee ha ha when you're in financial turmoil because you hee hee ha your way into letting a man borrow money from you because you were doing it for the plot. That's not even funny. Shit won't be hee hee ha ha funny when you're doing it for the plot and you find yourself pregnant for a broke man. That's not funny. You're risking your life for a broke man because you wanted to do it for the plot. Were you doing it for the plot or were you doing it for your ego? Because when we don't address impulsivity for what it is, and we choose to only embrace this movement of just letting the stars decide, just going where the wind takes me, just following the flow. What do you mean just going with the flow, gal? You're not a passive pebble that's being flung among the rocks and being dragged by the tide. You're a person who has autonomy, self-governance, and intelligent thought. So you need to be careful what plots you're finding yourself in. And you need to make sure that if you're doing it for the plot will benefit you. Because I've seen many a legend fall because they let the plot do them. So if you're going to take anything from this conversation of doing it for the plot, I'm not saying that you have to be a dominatrix. I'm not saying that you have to make dangerously impulsive decisions. I'm just saying that you need to make informed improvisational choices when you're in said plot. And that only comes from the practice of trusting yourself. And the practice of trusting yourself comes from you taking certain risks and seeing how those risks benefit you. But those risks need to be intentional and calculated. Because even risks, they exist on a scale of moderate to extremely dangerous. So where I would position that night where me and my two friends bullied that guy and got paid for it, where I would position that on the scale of like danger in terms of risk, if 1 is moderate risk and 10 is extremely dangerous. I would say I positioned that decision on the position of maybe like 6, because men are dangerous. Whether you're engaging with them as a dominatrix or you're engaging with them as a normal vanilla ass civilian woman who just wants to find love and a connection, men are dangerous. Men lie about their past. Men lie about who they are in the present. Men lie about what they're going to do in the future. You just don't know what a man is capable of. So when you're taking risks, I believe that the risks that benefit you more are the risks where you put yourself first and you make it clear to that man that you're not willing to put him above yourself. And that's only a risk if what you stand to lose is him. Because in losing him, what you're actually losing is a source of validation and a source of ego stroke. Because him as an entity, him as a person, in the grand scheme of things, he means nothing to you. You don't even know him like that. You just met him. But because he is a potential source of validation and you feeling accepted and wanted and hopefully lusted after, you feel there's a risk in putting your strongest foot forward. I don't always think your best foot forward benefits you when dating men, because best is subjective. What does best mean with men? Because for some men, you putting your best foot forward is you being more docile and submissive and agreeable. For other men, you putting your best foot forward is you being the complete opposite, being very disagreeable, very hard-headed, very dominant. Other times, you putting your best foot forward is you being a bit hard to read and playing on both sides of what I just described, where sometimes you appear to be agreeable, other times you got this dominant streak to you, but then you appear to be sweet and innocent, and then other times there's a side of you that's cheeky. With each scenario, you have to tailor what best means, because men are not okay. And you can't afford to live your life purely on the principle of impulsivity and doing it for the plot. Not when men are involved. If you're doing it for the plot, like I said, you need to reverse engineer that plot and start the story from the end. What is it that you want to get out of this man? What is it that you want this plot to serve your life with? What can your character, you, the main character, do to get the desired outcome that she wants? What decisions will she make? What questions will she ask? What's she going to wear? How's she going to carry herself? What jokes will she laugh at? This is all intentional script writing as you go along. So the next time you want to do something for the plot, remember that you're putting yourself in the position of being a screenwriter here. And screenwriters have a duty to the art. They are in service to the art. So you want to be a good screenwriter. Does your plot fucking make sense, babe? We don't need any more Tyler Perrys in the world. Don't be the Tyler Perry in your own life where you're just writing nonsense. And you're writing from tired stereotypes that people don't want anymore. And in your case, it's easy to repeat a tired stereotype that people don't want anymore if the outcome of your plot ends up being that the plot did you. And you doing it for the plot, you thinking, I'm going to impulsively go frolic with this guy. You end up feeling used, resentful, and forgotten by this guy. That's you being a bad screenwriter, because you had power to make sure that plot serves you, since you're going to be so impulsive and you didn't use your power. That means that you failed. You failed the art that you're supposed to be in service of. And in screenwriter land, that's a spanking on the bottom. That's not good as a screenwriter. You should be a good screenwriter who cares about delivering great art to the audience. Because if your life is a show and life is a stage, then let's fucking go. Lights, camera, action. If you enjoyed this episode, thank you so much for listening. I enjoyed this one. I think it's funny to just think about the ways that impulsivity and spontaneity decorate and colour our lives. And it doesn't always have to be negative. It can be fun as long as you have control. and as long as you know exactly what you want to get out of it. So I hope that that will inspire and encourage some thought in how you can allow impulsivity to be a flavoring for your life rather than being the downfall of your life. Take care. And as always, I will catch you in the next episode.